it wouldn't work if you tried to alter my sound. You know, it wouldn't work if you tried to alter me.
Right.
I'm just me. Right. I'm a one-off, thank God, most people say, you know.
The 1970s stand as one of the most creatively fertile decades in the history of popular music. It was a time when artistry and ambition converged to produce a staggering array of albums that remain cultural landmarks to this day. Carole King's Tapestry redefined the singer-songwriter genre with an intimacy that resonated in living rooms around the world.
You make me feel like a natural woman.
Joni Mitchell's Blue peeled back the layers of the human heart with unflinching honesty. Bob Dylan, who had already transformed the musical landscape in the previous decade, delivered Blood on the Tracks, a masterwork of lyrical storytelling wrapped in melancholic melodies.
Was it in another lifetime, when of toil and blood, black and Lisa was a virtue, the road was full of mud.
The era gave us Marvin Gaye's soulful plea for unity on What's Going On, Stevie Wonder's kaleidoscopic masterpiece, Songs in the Key of Life, and the raw energy of the Clash's early forays into punk.
A lot of people won't get no supper tonight. A lot of people won't get no justice soon.
The sheer range of music that emerged in this period is staggering, touching on every conceivable emotion and style. Suzi Quatro, a trailblazing force in her own right, occupied a unique space in this vast musical tapestry. As one of the first women to break through in the male-dominated world of rock and roll, she defied expectations and refused to conform to the traditional molds placed upon female performers of the time. Her self-titled 1973 debut album was an electrifying mix of glam rock energy, searing blues-infused guitar work, and a swagger that rivaled any of her male contemporaries. Songs such as Can the Can and 48 Crash bristled with a ferocity that felt fresh and fearless. Dressed head to toe in leather, her bass slung low, and her voice laced with attitude, Quatro projected an image of strength and independence that inspired a generation of women to pick up instruments and stake their claim in rock and roll. "I never saw myself as different," she said. "I was just another musician, standing on stage, doing what I loved. The fact that I was a woman never factored into it for me."
Well, what else has changed apart from the leather since you were here last?
I've got a different shade of lipstick on.
Well, you keep coming back to Australia. It must be a pretty good hunting ground for you, is it?
Oh, we had a good time last time. Have a good time this time.
But for all the raw power of her performances, there was always a deeper current running beneath the surface. Born in Detroit in 1950, Quatro's musical education began early, shaped by the diverse influences that surrounded her in a city renowned for its rich musical heritage. Her father's band, the Art Quatro Trio, immersed her in jazz, a genre that would leave an indelible mark on her understanding of rhythm and melody. Detroit, with its thriving Motown scene and gritty rock and roll ethos, provided the perfect backdrop for her formative years. She absorbed it all, drawing inspiration from the soulful grooves of Marvin Gaye, the incendiary energy of garage rock pioneers like MC5, and the undeniable charisma of early rock and roll icons such as Elvis Presley. It was Presley in particular who left the most profound impression. "I was mesmerized by Elvis," Quatro recalled. "He had this incredible presence, this ability to command an audience with just a look, a movement. I wanted to capture that same energy in my own way."
He was my first love from the age of 6. I saw him on TV. Then I went back to America with my English band with some success under my belt. And I was in Memphis, and the phone rang in my hotel room. And it was Elvis's people. And they said, "We have a phone call for you." All of a sudden, he was on the phone. I was going, he said, "I heard your version of All Shook Up, and I think it's the best since my own, and I want to invite you to Graceland." And I went, "Wow. I'm very busy."
What?
No, true. I wasn't ready.
Really? We're almost meeting your hero?
No, it's just, I'd only had like 3 or 4 hits. And I think in my mind, I wanted to be more on an equal level to actually meet him. And I didn't know he was going to die. Of course, I didn't know that. But.
Throughout her career, she would revisit his work repeatedly, reinterpreting his songs with a fresh perspective that brought a new vitality to them. Her version of All Shook Up injected a level of rock and roll abandon that even Presley himself might have found difficult to match.
My friends say I'm acting queer as a
By the early 1970s, Quatro had relocated to England, where she quickly found herself at the heart of the burgeoning glam rock movement. It was a time of excess, of bold fashion choices and larger-than-life stage personas. Yet Quatro's appeal lay in her authenticity. Unlike many of her peers, she never relied on elaborate costumes or theatrical gimmicks to make an impact. Instead, she let the music do the talking. Her unique blend of funk, rock and blues set her apart, offering a raw and unfiltered counterpoint to the more polished acts that dominated the charts. "I wanted people to hear me and feel something real," she said. "No pretense, no artifice, just music that came from the heart." It is this same authenticity that defines her choices when it comes to the music that has inspired her over the years. When Quatro appeared on the BBC's Desert Island Discs in 1986, she revealed a taste that many found unexpected. Given her high-octane rock image, one might have assumed she would gravitate towards similarly hard-edged selections from the decade she helped to define. Instead, her choices reflected a more introspective side, a love for storytelling and emotional resonance that had always been a quiet undercurrent in her work. Among the songs she selected from the 1970s were Bob Seger's "We've Got Tonight."
Why should we worry? No one will care, girl. Look at the stars, so far away.
The Eagles' "Desperado."
Desperado, why don't you come to your senses?
And Jackson Browne's "Rosie."
More I watched her watch him play, the less I thought of to say. And when they walked off stage, the drummer swept that girl away.
Tracks that veered away from the anthemic and leaned instead into the personal. To some, these selections may have seemed incongruous with the image she projected on stage, but for those who understood the depth of her musical influences, they made perfect sense. Quatro has always been drawn to music that speaks to the human experience, that lays bare the vulnerabilities and struggles that define life. "A good song," she once said, "is like a mirror. It shows you parts of yourself you didn't even know were there." It is this sentiment that explains her deep affinity for Jackson Browne's work in particular. Browne, with his ability to distill complex emotions into simple, heartfelt melodies, has long been a favorite of hers. She has often cited him as one of the finest songwriters of his generation, praising his knack for capturing the bittersweet moments of life with a quiet elegance. "Jackson Browne has this way of saying things that just hit you right in the gut," she said. "He can take something ordinary and make it feel profound." Even decades after first professing her admiration for Browne, his music continues to hold a special place in her heart. In 2008, when she hosted her own 9-part BBC radio series, she once again revisited Rosie, playing it with the same reverence she had shown years earlier. The song, a tender yet melancholic reflection on longing and regret, captures the same themes that have always resonated with Quatro. It is music that speaks to something universal, something beyond the confines of genre or era.
Rosie, you're alright. You wear my ring when you hold me tight. Rosie, that's my thing.
Bob Seger's "We've Got Tonight" and the Eagles' "Desperado" occupy a similar emotional terrain. Seger's plaintive vocals and wistful lyrics evoke a sense of yearning that is instantly relatable.
We've got tonight, baby. Why don't you stay?
While the Eagles' classic ballad taps into a deeper longing for connection and belonging.
Desperado, oh, you ain't getting no younger.
For Quatro, these songs represent the kind of timeless craftsmanship that she has always admired. "There's something about those songs," she mused. "They don't try too hard, they don't shout for attention, they just are." Perhaps what these choices reveal most clearly is Quatro's enduring belief in the power of music to connect people on a fundamental level. Despite the stylistic differences between her own work and the songs she cherishes, the common thread is an unwavering commitment to honesty and emotional expression. Whether delivering a blistering rock anthem or quietly championing a heartfelt ballad, her guiding principle has always been the same: to create music that means something. As the years have passed, Suzi Quatro's influence has only grown. Her presence paved the way for countless female artists who followed, proving that women could hold their own in the rough and tumble world of rock and roll. Yet for all her achievements, she remains humble, focused not on past glories, but on the enduring passion that has kept her in the game for decades. I still get the same thrill stepping onto a stage now as I did when I was 16, she said. The music, the connection with the audience, it never gets old. Her legacy is not merely one of trailblazing success, but of an artist who has always stayed true to herself. In a world that often demands reinvention and reinvention again, Quatro's steadfast authenticity stands as a testament to the idea that real artistry transcends trends and passing fashions. Her chosen songs from the 1970s may not fit the expected mold, but they speak volumes about the kind of artist and person she has always been. Music for Suzi Quatro has never been about following the crowd. It has been about forging her own path, and in doing so inspiring others to do the same.